On this episode, as you just heard, I just got out of Facebook jail, well, as of Monday, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we're going to have thoughts on what happened in Las Vegas, and we're going to talk with Lisa Smiley. All this on this episode of Trend Chat. Stick around. Welcome to a live edition of Trend Chat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, it's all the same name, Trend Chat 24/7. And I write for politics.com if you want to read some of my articles. If I'm just thinking about the article I wrote last week, which I posted on my page, that is the most shared article by far. So I appreciate everyone that read it and liked it. But if you want to read that article and others, just go to politics.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. And don't forget about the book, Politics, a Clearing Call to Political Activism, which is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Over 300 pages of, I guess, talking about different subjects, whether it's education, healthcare, and I still haven't thought of other subjects to keep instead of saying the same ones, but those are the ones: education, healthcare, social issues, general political issues, and activism. I definitely remember that one because that's where my article that I contributed to the book is in that section, talking about becoming a national delegate at the Republican National Convention last year. So, as I've said plenty of times before, get like 5 copies of it. It's just a random number, but hey, I think it's worth it. So, I mean, Christmas is coming around the corner. I mean, you can just get 5 of them and gift them to your friends or your enemies. Somebody you don't like. Maybe this might smarten you up. Give you this book on political activism, and especially read that one from Brian Bledsoe. Put that in there too. So like I said, today is Tuesday. We're broadcasting out of Indiana. I have to think about it for a second, but yeah, we're in Indiana tonight, and we are just, as usual, we're on the road, just doing my regular job as opposed to anything else. So just maybe just here cranking up the truck, driving down the road. I'm not driving right now. That's just a sound effect. Just don't worry, I'm not on the road right now. But yeah. So like I said, I mentioned that we are out of Facebook jail, and I just thought it was appropriate to play something, to commemorate that. So actually, I know sometimes when, I don't know what Facebook does, but they block people from even going on their page. Like, they can't do anything. So that wasn't the case for me. I was just restricted to posting groups for some reason. It was weird, but so it wasn't so much like jail as some people put it. It was more like house arrest because I was able to post on my page. I just couldn't post anywhere else. So I basically had to, when I posted something, I had to tell people, hey, please just share this because I can't do anything. Because normally I do it myself. I don't go out just saying, hey, trying to tell people to share it. I mean, if they want to, great. And just like this show, if you like it, share it. But I don't go on and trying to tell people to do that. But last week was a special circumstance, so I was like, please, I need someone to help me out this time. And so I appreciate everyone who did last week. And it was funny. It felt like Facebook knew I had a lot to share than usual. Other than the podcast, I had an article that I haven't written an article in like months. And yet on that week that I write one, I can't even share it past my own page. And then I was a guest on Freedom on Deck on Sunday, and I couldn't share that because other than on my page. And all this was last week, on top of what was going on the podcast. So it was just a strange coincidence that one of the weeks when I had stuff to share more than most times, I couldn't do it. And half of that I didn't even know was happening the week before. Like, I didn't know I would be writing that article until like the day, like a couple of days before it was published. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, just in case people who actually saw that on my page. And so, but I'm out now. So, and once again, I definitely appreciate everyone who helped out as far as sharing. I actually believe what happened on Facebook actually helped the Politichick article to get shared more than usual. That's what I think is the reason why it was the most shared article for me. And I guess getting restricted was a good thing in that sense as far as the article goes. But, so enough about me. I have some other news to bring up, but I'll bring it up at the end. But before we get into our thoughts on Las Vegas, let's hear from my friends with the Founding Project.
Hello, Trend Chat fans. The Founding Project invites you to experience our latest resource to take civics to citizens, TFP's new website. Visit us at www.thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with the Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Join us today.
So, I'm pretty sure most people have heard by now what happened in Las Vegas. You had a shooting, tragedy, definitely that happened during a country music festival. And as of right now, we are looking at over 50 dead and over 500 injured. And it could rise. I actually don't know if it has since the last time I looked at it. And I don't want to use the words as far as talking about how it's the deadliest shooting and all that. And I feel like we are really making too much about that, because I agree with some people who have posted about that by putting so much on that makes it kind of gives more incentive for more of these psychos to go out and do this, so they can not only get their name out there as far as to be infamous for committing such a horrendous act, but also, well, maybe I might make history or something like that. So that's definitely not something I want to promote. But like I said, we have close to 60 dead and like I said, over 500 injured. I mean, we're talking about sons and daughters and brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers. just families in total disarray right now because of what has happened. And it's definitely not something we should get used to. Definitely not. Definitely disagree with the mayor of London, who basically wanted to say that you just have to get used to terrorism. And, you know, this is a terrorist act. That's how I would see it. This is. And this is not something you should get used to seeing or used to hearing about. But, you know, with all that has happened, I posted one of the first posts about this that I put on social media was saying, despite our best hopes, events like, you know, what happened in Las Vegas will be politicized at a moment's notice. And I said that because a lot of times when we have these, you know, tragedies, we want to say, let's all come together and let's make sure, let's not politicize this. Let's, let's all be Americans and whatnot, which is, I agree. But in this environment that we have now, that we get our information instantly, we're gonna take our sides pretty much almost immediately now. And this is not something new either. So just because we're getting our information quickly and people are already making their political opinions, are already making their opinions based on their ideology from the get-go, it's not something new, really. It's just, instead of when you have an event like this happen, back in the day, you would talk about it amongst your family in your home, and then maybe talk about it to your next door neighbor, something like that, or at the water cooler at your job. That's what you did when we didn't have the internet. Even, you know, whenever we got this information, we'll have our opinion on it. We always done that. The difference is now we're doing that to our friends across the globe. And at the same time, everyone can see it. It's out there in the public. So we're doing the same thing we always done. It's just everyone can see someone else's opinion from across the country. So it just, I think we had this sense that we weren't this way before, and that's something that's not the case. We always had our opinions on these events, and pretty much at the same pace. The only thing about it, like I said, we just get the information a lot quicker and start making our assessments a lot sooner because we have so much information to go off of. So in that status, I said, let's pray for the families, pray for everyone that has been affected in Las Vegas. But at the same time, we got to stay vigilant. We got to stay prepared, because, I mean, it's not like we can't do both. I feel like when I'm making that statement, someone can make it seem like you can't be compassionate. You can't have sympathy for the people and also be prepared for the number of people who are going to be out there wanting to use this to promote and advocate for some agenda. So in this case, we're talking about, given that this was a shooting, you have the people who want to jump on this and use it to promote gun control. And so when something like this happens, think of the families and pray for them. Also, be prepared, get ready, because the people that want to take advantage of this situation are not going to wait. Actually, they definitely don't want to wait, because they want to jump on this as soon as possible so they can play on people's emotions, and to maybe have them cloud their judgment because they're kind of wound up in their emotions, to maybe sway them to give away a little bit more of their constitutional rights. In this case, this will be the Second Amendment. And also, if you are a politician, if you're someone in leadership, I think this is something you definitely should do as far as being prepared. I feel like if you're in some sort of leadership, you'll be negligent to not be prepared, because as a leader, you should know that there are people going to try to take advantage of it, and you need to be prepared to know what you need to do and make sure to, I would say, like, if in my case, if I was in that position, to guard the Constitution and make sure to keep people from trying to use this tragedy to take away people's right to self-defense. And by saying that, it didn't take no time, because you had the usual suspects of celebrities and Democrats out there, unsurprisingly, just trying to use this for gun control. Like I mentioned, you had Jimmy Kimmel out there on his show, basically using his emotion to play on other people's emotions to advocate for gun control, kind of the same way he did in trying to promote Obamacare. Then you also had Alyssa Milano, etc. I mean, the list goes on. Like I said, it's the usual suspects of celebrities and politicians, Democrats, and just wanting to use this. And another post I put on there saying, like, don't let these people, these celebrities, don't let them play on your emotions to give away your rights, because that's basically what they're doing. That's what they're looking to do. And like I said before, just need to stay vigilant. And kind of goes back to a quote I was just thinking about. Some people say it's Thomas Jefferson. I really don't know, but I just like the quote. And it's been said a different couple of ways. Like, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. I love that quote. It's been said a couple of different ways, like the price of liberty, or it's been flipped around or something like that. But basically, that quote, that's like one of my favorite quotes. Outside of anything scripture, that's like one of my favorite sayings. And so we, I obviously I haven't even talked much about the shooter, which I'm probably not going to. But I will say this, I could just imagine what the reports would be if they had, some evidence pointing something to where the media narrative will be, to their liking. But right now, you don't hear much about the shooter. I mean, even from me right now, but even in the media, you're not really hearing much about the shooter. But if they had some other evidence, like, let's say, all of a sudden you'll hear on the media say, well, reports say, or people have been saying that he's a Trump supporter, or he has ties with the Tea Party. Like, they wouldn't report it because they wouldn't have any evidence. But if there was anything close to that, the media would be out there with their reports, or even just saying rumors say. But you're not really hearing much of that now, because none of that is pointing that way. Actually, it's pointing the other way. So all of a sudden they want to make sure we get the facts straight now. because it's it's not lining up with their agenda. And you had this CBS executive, lawyer, I guess I forgot, but she got fired because she basically said she had no sympathy for the people who were shot at the country music festival because, in her opinion, country music fans are mostly Republican. Which, well, for one, that's really not true. Just because someone like country music doesn't instantly make them a Republican. There are a lot of left-leaning country music fans. Dixie Chicks for one, but that's how these liberals tend to look at, Republicans. They just tend to, where's country music? Well, it must be all Republicans. No. Pretty sure you probably had a good mixture of different ideologies in that crowd. Either way, she got fired, and one thing, I hope people don't think that she was the only one thinking that. She was just the only one that had the nerve to make it public. I would say there's a fair amount of people in high places, as you can see with this, with the executive of CBS, making these opinions, having these thoughts. And she ain't the only one. She is not the only one. There's plenty of them that are, when they saw that, they probably giggled, or they're like, yep, you're right. That's a lot of them probably said that when they came across her post, but they just didn't make their views public. Kind of like Jamel Hill, as far as how she felt about President Trump. She ain't the only one who feels that way. A lot of them just, keep it hidden. And but that's pretty much all I have on this. I also just want to say that in talking about staying vigilant, I really appreciate people like Antonia Okafor, who is out there in Las Vegas right now, and she's out there doing basically what I'm talking about, as far as being there, being in the community out there, and just standing post, getting ready to show, everyone that just because of what happened in Las Vegas during that shooting, that doesn't mean we need to turn around and try to take away everyone's right to self-defense, their Second Amendment rights, especially, and I just, definitely want to commend her and others who are out there, just going out there now to try to make sure to stand firm in this time, because there's going to be a lot of people who have maybe didn't have an opinion about the Second Amendment and has either went one way or other on this. I know I heard a story about one of the musicians that was playing, said he was a strong Second Amendment defender, and then after that happened, now he's all for gun control now. So, then you may have other stories going the other way. So it kind of goes back to what I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago. Like, a catastrophic event definitely will show what you truly believe. When the goings get really tough, and you're gonna find out, if you're going to stick around or not, or if as far as whatever your values are, if you truly believe something, then when hardship comes, that's when you're gonna find out. So we're gonna get to our interview with Lisa Smiley now, but before that, let's hear another word from our friends at the Founding Project.
Hello to fans of Trend Chat and Brian Bledsoe. The Founding Project an education nonprofit dedicated to civics, invites you to visit our brand new website. Visit us at thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with The Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
So we got a chance to speak with Lisa Smiley recently, and came across her videos on Facebook, and so a couple of friends were sharing her videos talking about pro-life issues and other issues as well, which you would hear in the interview, and reached out to her and got a chance to speak with her. And so, not going to hold off anymore. Here's our interview with Lisa. Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are pleased to have blogger and public speaker Lisa Smiley with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Brian, for having me.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say I came across your videos on Facebook because a couple of friends of mine liked some of your videos and have shared it on my timeline. I definitely wanted to get you on, especially with you talking on pro-life issues and everything. So the first question I want to ask is, give us a little bit on your background and how did you get to this point as far as making these videos?
Right. So I have a very interesting, diverse background. I was born in China, in communist China, and our family lived there until I was 4. And then our family immigrated to New Zealand, and I grew up there until I was 18, and we had this opportunity to come to America. So since the age of 18, I have lived in America, and America has really become my home. And how I got involved in the pro-life movement, so I've always kind of been pro-life, and I did like my first speech in high school on the pro-life issue. And I guess since, having my son at the age of 23, and we were faced with just this really hard decision, which, I became pregnant, and then at our 20-week ultrasound, they told us that he had this life-threatening heart issue where that could only see half a heart. And so, through that experience and through just having the doctors tell us, hey, abortion is probably your only option if you want to, have a good life and have a life free of burden and worry, that just kind of sparked something in me, because I was pro-life and abortion was just off the table for me. So just going through that experience, I can really connect with women who are faced with this issue, and especially with arguments on the pro-life issue. It's like, hey, I've gone through this, and I chose life, and, my son was a blessing, not a burden, and, that's part of my pro-life testimony, I guess. But, even before that, I had no idea that, my mother actually faced a very, just not like a similar issue, but an issue of life and death for her children, because we grew up in communist China, and, in 2015, in October, the Communist Party changed their one-child policy to two-child policy. And that's when I kind of really, I thought about my history and what my mother went through with that, so I come from a family of 5 girls and 1 boy, and all of the girls were actually born in communist China, and the youngest 3, including myself, were born after the one-child policy came into effect, and we survived it. And basically, my parents had the youngest 3 girls illegally.
Wow. Now, as far as that policy, as someone who lived over here myself, I guess tell us a little bit, and I guess in detail as far as when it comes to this one-child policy. So basically, if a woman becomes pregnant and if it's their second child, it's just an instant abortion?
Yes, it's abortion, or women are forced to sterilize. And so since 1980, the Communist Party has basically forced women to get abortions or get sterilized so that they only have one child. And China's official health ministry estimates that over 330 million children have already been aborted since the policy was instituted. So it's a pretty horrific and violent policy. I mean that's what my parents went through, seeing that happen with other families, and we were so fortunate that, like, my mother was able to hide us and have us illegally, and that we survived all that.
So how long, well, given that you were born illegally, so what did they do as far as trying to make sure that you weren't found out?
Right. So my mom has shared, like, many stories with us about how they keep us safe from the government. And so, like, when she became pregnant with each of the 3 youngest girls, she would have to go into hiding for months during her pregnancy. And so when she became pregnant with me, my parents already had 3 girls, and my mom had to leave my older sister with a relative, and then keep my older 2 sisters at home, and then she ran off to the city by herself to stay with another relative. And so when her due date approached, she would travel to another city to give birth to me away from home. So just during that whole time, I mean, she was separated from her husband, from her family, and she was extremely scared and stressed out that she would be caught, but luckily it didn't happen. And just like there are certain times in the year that the government officials would come looking for families like us who broke the law, but like, we have such a family-oriented extended family that just really helped us to keep us safe from the government. And luckily, we lived in the countryside and not in the city where the laws were enforced much more strictly.
Well, that's definitely was a blessing to have that extended family to help you.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely, well, kind of want to go back as far as yourself, and you were saying about your son. And so you had the doctors basically just actively just advocate for you to have an abortion?
Yes, they actually, so when I found out that my son had a condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which is a deadly congenital heart disease, they actually took my husband aside by himself and told us that, you have your whole life to live. You don't need to burden yourself with a lifetime of pain and suffering. And basically, they were kind of advocating abortion as the only option. And we were pro-life, so it wasn't really a question for us. But it's just, you never think that you would face a situation like this.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about as far as doctors not even considering as far as what they can do as far as keeping the child alive, but I'm pretty sure there are options out there, but they weren't even concerned with none of that. They were just going straight for you just should just get an abortion. That's it.
Right, and I'm not sure if like all doctors are like that, but in our experience, that's how it was for us. But after we told them, hey, no, abortion is not an option for us, so we need to figure out what we can do to keep our son alive after he was born. And so our son actually had a series of open heart surgeries after he was born that kept him alive for 7 years. So, and I've met a lot of pro-life doctors. It's just that there are those doctors who are set on abortion, and they're professionals, and so they sound like they know what they're doing. But as parents, and as Christian and conservative and pro-life, it's just like a matter of for us, it's not an option for us. So
now, growing up, did you grow up with the conservative values being taught, or in Christianity, in your household, or what?
So in China, it's communist,
mm-hmm.
And in New Zealand, it's a much more of a socialist system. And so I think my parents are very traditional. They're very moral. They're very much family oriented. But in New Zealand, it's very secular, and so I basically had a very liberal education, and that's just how society is. It's not like in America, there's conservatives and there's liberals. Like in many parts of even the Western world, it's all just liberal. And so just growing up, I would say that I was just a liberal by default, just because of, being in the public school system. And it wasn't until I moved to America at the age of 18 and I saw how different America was from New Zealand. And that's kind of when I started getting involved in politics and learning more about the conservative movement, because I had experienced, socialism in New Zealand and seen like just the culture and what kind of people, the society made. I mean, in New Zealand, there are a lot of government programs and unemployment benefits, and and relying on the government isn't really looked down upon. And so there isn't a lot of opportunities or a lot of ambition amongst my friends. And then when I moved to America, I could see, wow, America, there's something great and something special about America. And I guess that's when I really started digging deeper into the politics and into the history of America. And that's kind of when I became involved in the conservative movement.
Okay, and I guess in hearing your story as far as growing up in China with this policy and everything that your mother had to go through, so where did it get to where you wanted to get into the pro-life movement?
I think I don't know, something in me when I was in high school kind of just piqued my interest, and that's kind of when I started wanting to get into it, not knowing that I really had a pro-life testimony of my own with my own parents, and then going through what I went through with my son Zeke. So it's been a few years, and especially with my son passing away 2 years ago, it kind of really just stirred something in me to share my testimony. And with the recent changes in China, with changing the one-child policy to a two-child policy in October 2015, that's when I kind of started sharing my story of what our family went through in communist China. And my story's been shared like 50,000 times or something since then. And so that's kind of really how I got really involved in the pro-life movement. And since then, I've spoken on my testimony at various pro-life conferences.
Okay. And I noticed from the videos, you talk about other issues as well, not only on pro-life issues, but also on feminism and basically kind of spreading the message throughout the world to Christians and conservatives. And so as far as feminism goes, when I say that, the first thing that comes to my mind is what's been going on with this Women's March. And I just want to ask your opinion about the Women's March.
Well, I think it's interesting how the Women's March kind of advocates this idea that they're for all women and that they're standing up for all women's rights. And they kind of give you this impression that, if you're a woman, then you must be a feminist if you're for equal rights. And then you see what they stand for and the type of issues that are important to them. And it's totally antithetical to conservative women's values. And you see how, they treat the women in the Trump administration, like Ivanka Trump and Betsy DeVos and Sarah Sanders. And you can see, hey, they're not for all women. They're only for leftist, liberal women like Hillary Clinton. And so, for me as a conservative woman, I really don't have much in common with the Women's March and what they stand for abortion up to the time of birth and free healthcare and free contraceptives and just a lot of values that I don't stand for. And so I think we need to, as conservatives and as family-oriented women, we need to expose the Women's March for what it really is.
It is funny. It's one thing, whether it is the Women's March or Black Lives Matter, it just seems like you have these very much liberal groups out here basically name something like a Women's March to make it seem like it's for women, or Black Lives Matter,
Yep.
meaning that it's for black people. But in the end, when you look at their agenda, it's not for women or black people. There is an agenda as far as like a progressive agenda, basically all about that, just kind of shrouded in gender or race.
Right, they're playing identity politics, and then you realize, hey, they're not even for all women or all blacks, and
Yep.
And, you know, as conservative, like, you can see right through it. I mean, to me, feminism is basically socialism for liberal women. That's basically what they stand for, but they don't tell you that right off the bat. So, you know, like, normal women who aren't really, you know, exposed to a lot of these ideas, they think they could be feminist, or they relate to feminism because all the feminists say that they are is for equality between the sexes or freedom of choice, when in actuality they're not for that at all. And you can see that with the way that they treat, say, men's rights activists, and when men try to stand up for their rights and fathers' rights, then the feminists totally shut them down. And, you know, we have to expose that, I think.
Yeah, you as a public speaker going out across the country, where are you going to? Are you like going to college campuses or what, as far as getting the message out to Christians and conservatives?
Right. So next month I'll be speaking to the students at Abilene Christian University about my pro-life story and just sharing, you know, my heart for the pro-life movement. And then I am starting a series on feminism and just exposing a lot of the lies of the feminist movement, you know, as a conservative woman. And hopefully that will really get the message out, because I think, you know, before we even talk about abortion or anything like that, you know, it goes back to the feminist movement and how they really turned women against the goodness of motherhood and of children and of family. And so, you know, I'm just really trying to get a big picture of these issues and kind of go back to the ideas. And so, yeah, I'll be starting that this month, and hopefully next year we're planning on doing some kind of documentary, maybe about my pro-life story or about the feminist issue. So that's where I see myself going right now.
Okay, well, you know, we'll be looking forward to all of that, and let us know where we can find you on social media.
Yep, so you can find me at my website at lisasmiley.com, and I am also on YouTube and on Facebook, but if you just go to my website, there are links to all my social media platforms.
Okay. Lisa, we definitely appreciate everything you're doing, and thank you for your time, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, Brian.
Yep, and thanks to Lisa for joining us. And once again, just, you know, lisasmiley.com, and to check her out on, like she said, on YouTube and Facebook. So we're coming up on the end of today's episode, and normally I don't say who's going to be on the next episode, because I actually don't know, but I can say this time because I know for sure. So we will have Katie Yoder on, and actually this is going to be on Thursday, so it's going to be that two episodes a week, I guess. So yeah, we'll have her on. She's a writer with Media Research Center. So appreciate everyone listening, and until Thursday, we will chat with you later.